Hello students, welcome to Power Tutorials. So today we are going to discuss part 7 of chapter 1, that is chemical reactions and equations of NCERT science textbook. So in this part we are going to start with exercise questions number 12. If you are coming new to this video, I suggest you to check my other 6 parts, starting from what is chemical reaction, what is balancing chemical reaction, types of chemical reaction, and also what are types of oxidation reactions like rancidity and corrosion, and also starting with exercise questions. So I will keep all those links in my description and also the playlist, so you can refer that. So let's start with today's video. So what is the 12th question? Write one equation each for decomposition reaction where energy is supplied in form of heat, light and electricity. So what is decomposition? So if in a chemical reaction, if one product is getting decomposed, it is separated into multiple 2 or more products, then that such reaction is called decomposition. And to form any decomposition reaction, we need to supply energy. This way we call it as endothermic reactions. Let's see few examples, like one example each for heat, light and electricity. So first one, heat. So the reaction is it is saying that CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate, in the presence of heat, it is getting converted into CaO, which is calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So here delta is nothing but the heat. So if you supply heat to calcium carbonate, we also call it as a quicklime. So then what will convert into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. This is called Slagle lime. This is limestone. So these details are not that much required. Whereas if you just say that calcium carbonate in the presence of heat, it gets converted, that is get decomposed into CaO and CO2. So let's see the second reaction, which is sunlight. So what we say, silver chloride, that is AgCl, in presence of sunlight gets decomposed itself into silver and chlorine. So this is mainly used in black and white photography. So the example for sunlight decomposition is silver chloride getting decomposed to silver and chlorine. So let's balance it. Here you can see chlorine is 2, whereas here chlorine is 1. So if we give 2, 2Ag, so here if we do 2. So 2Ag, 2Ag, 2Cl, 2Cl. So this is a balanced chemical equation. Whereas the third one, which is electricity. We call this reaction as electrolysis, that is H2O giving rise to hydrogen and hydrogen and oxygen in the presence of current. We call this as electrolysis process. So what is electrolysis process is, take a beaker which is having water in it and pass 2 test tubes into it and pass electricity. So what will happen is, after few minutes or few hours, what we can see is hydrogen will be getting emitted at cathode, whereas for anode oxygen will be getting emitted. So this reaction is called as electrolysis, that is, if you pass current through a water, hydrogen and oxygen gases will get separated out. So let's balance this as well. Here hydrogen is 2, here it is 2, whereas oxygen here it is 1, here it is 2. We just keep 2 here and 2 here so that both will get balanced. That is, water is getting decomposed to hydrogen and oxygen gas. So these are the 3 examples. That is one for heat, sunlight and electricity. For heat, calcium carbonate is getting decomposed to CaO and CO2, calcium carbonate and carbon dioxide. And the second, that is in presence of sunlight, it is 2AgCl, that is silver chloride getting decomposed to silver and chlorine. Whereas if you pass current to water, that is electrolysis process, So what will happen is water will get decomposed to hydrogen and oxygen gases. So let's see with 13th question. So the 13th question, they are saying that write the difference between displacement double displacement reaction with the help of one chemical reaction. So if any question, if they ask any differences, it's better to write in form of table so that it will be easy to correct, and also they will give better marks compared to the points section. So what happens in displacement? A more reactive metal displaces less reactive metal and forms new product. For example, zinc plus CSO4 gives rise to ZnSO4 plus Cu. Here, zinc is more reactive than copper, so it is taking its place and copper is getting separated out. So this type of reaction is called displacement, and I also explained all the details in depth in my third part, that is types of chemical reaction, in part 3. So you can also check that video for more details. So for double displacement, here exchange of ions takes place between reactants to form new products. So for this example, we can take barium sulfate barium chloride and sodium sulfate, they will form barium sulfate and NaC. So here you can see barium and sodium are getting interchanged because there is exchange of ions happening. So what is happening here? Barium chloride is getting reacted with sodium sulfate, and barium sulfate is getting formed along with NaCl. So let's balance this. We have 2 sodiums and 2 chlorines, so it will be 2 NaCl. So in this way we can find the differences between displacement, double displacement. By displacement, it is saying that a more reactive metal displaces less reactive metal and forms as new product, whereas exchange of ions takes place to form a new product. It is called double displacement. Let's see 14th question. So in the 14th question, they are saying that for the silver extraction process, we have a recovery of silver from silver nitrate using copper as a displacement reaction. They are asking to find the equation. So it's the same example, similar to the example which I have stated before. So here silver nitrate is nothing but AgNO3 is getting combined with copper to form silver and copper nitrate. So here we can write simply this silver nitrate is getting reacted with copper to form silver and copper nitrate. So to balance it, here nitrate is 2, so just keep 2 here, 2 Ag, so if we keep 2 here, 2 Ag is done, copper is done, nitrate is done. So simply in terms of words, if you want, you can write silver nitrate is reacting with copper to form silver and copper nitrate. So how this equation is getting formed? Because copper is more reactive when compared to silver. So copper is getting replaced with silver and silver is getting emptied out. So this is an example for displacement reaction where more reactive metal will take the place of less reactive metal and the less reactive metal will get separated out. Let's see 15th question. So in the 15th question they are asking what do you mean by precipitation reaction and give examples. So let's write first is what is precipitation reaction. So if a reaction, if any product which is non-soluble in water, so for suppose in a reaction if it is any product is getting formed which is non-soluble in water is called as precipitate, and if any reaction of precipitate is getting formed it is called precipitation reaction. Let's see examples. So previous example which I have seen, that is barium chloride, it is getting combined with Na2SO4 which is giving barium sulfate and sodium chloride. So this is example for a precipitation reaction where BaSO4 is a precipitate, and also example CuSO4 plus H2S. If you combine these two, that is hydrogen sulfide, if you combine these two then exchange of ions happens, that is double displacement reaction here. So H2 will get combined with sulfate forming H2SO4, and the other reaction, that is H2SO4 and Cus. So here copper sulfate is a precipitate whereas H2SO4 is the acid. So the down arrow represents it is a precipitate. So if they ask these two reactions, you can just explain barium chloride plus sodium sulfate gives rise to barium sulfate and sodium chloride, where barium sulfate is a precipitate here, and here the copper sulfate is getting reacted with hydrogen sulfide. It gives H2SO4 and Cus plus Cus is the precipitate. Let's see the 16th question. So in the 16th question they are asking explain the following in terms of gain or loss of oxygen, that is for oxidation and reduction. For oxidation, as we know, if any reaction, if a reactant is gaining oxygen, we call it as oxidation. So it is gain of oxygen. Examples are very easy examples. You can consider it as metal. If you combine with oxygen, it gives metal oxide. So here the example is Cu plus O2, that is copper plus oxygen gives rise to copper oxide. And also we can consider example of hydrogen or at least zinc. Same example, 2Zn plus O2 gives rise to 2ZnO. So here metal is getting combined with oxygen to form oxide. Whereas for reduction, it's just the opposite. That is loss of oxygen. And also consider this example that is previously explained, electrolysis, that is water getting combined to hydrogen and oxygen. Here you can see hydrogen, water is losing oxygen to form hydrogen. This is one example, and also if you combine copper oxide and hydrogen, you will get copper and water. So here also copper oxide is losing oxygen to form copper. So if any reaction, the metal or the compound is losing oxygen to form another element, then such reactions are called reduction. Whereas if any element it is gaining oxygen to form another product, it is called as oxidation. Let's see 17th question. So in the 17th question they are asking a shiny brown element X on heating in air becomes black in color, name the compound X, name the X in the compound. So it's a direct answer. The shiny brown element is nothing but copper. So if you react copper in presence of, anytime just say heating and in the air, then it's a clear indication that oxygen is present, because without oxygen we don't have any heating, that is burning. So that's why you can directly say copper is reacting with oxygen to form copper oxide. To balance it, oxygen is 2 here, so just skip 2 here, 2 carbons, so 2 copper, so 2 copper. The final answer is 2Cu plus O2 gives rise to CO. The element X is copper. The compound which is getting formed is copper oxide. Copper oxide is black in color, so brown color is getting turned into black. So if you want in word equation, you can say copper on heating in air becomes copper oxide. So all these topics are already explained in my previous parts. So if you want in full details, how the displacement is happening, what is decomposition, what is the double displacement and all, you can check my other 5 parts. So those I will explain in the, those I'll keep in my description part. You can check through it, and also I'll keep all these questions in terms of walkthrough. So based upon the exact question, if you want, you can also check on clicking on the time. Let's meet with 18th question. So in the 18th question they are asking, why do you apply paint on iron particles? So direct answer is to avoid corrosion. So what is corrosion? So corrosion happens if any metal like iron, silver, even steel, if they get reacted with oxygen in the presence of moisture, so iron rust or any other type of iron oxides or metal oxides getting formed, so which deteriorates the element and deteriorates the metals and forms oxides. For example, iron, that is Fe, if combined with oxygen in presence of water, that is H2O, it forms Fe2O3, which is iron oxide, and this is formed in the form of rust. So you can also might have seen few examples like mesh in a garden. So what will, if I form the mesh, it will be like this. So after a few days, you can see that reddish brown color will form on this structures. This is nothing but the iron oxide. You can also see in your home appliances, like if we keep silver items for a longer time, and if you keep in contact with air, that is oxygen, also with moisture, some silver will turn, that Ag will turn into black color. So why this is happening? This is also because of corrosion, that is Ag, that is silver, it is getting combined with oxygen as well as water to form silver oxides. Silver oxide is nothing but black in color. So if we leave alone for a longer time, what happens is after some days or some months, the silver will get deteriorated and it will lose its properties. Same way, iron also, if we keep for a longer time outside and we keep interacting with oxygen and water, moisture, so iron rust will getting formed, so which also spoils the material and the life of the metal will get reduced. So that's why we keep paint on the iron particles. What will happen if there is a iron rod here, for suppose, and if you paint it with mostly with green color kind of thing, so what we'll do is it will protect this iron with the exposure of water or oxygen. So these two will not get combined with iron, so this way this will not get formed and the iron will remain iron itself. It will keep, the life will be longer. So instead of, so main point is, why do you apply paint? We keep this so that we avoid corrosion. So what is corrosion? So any metal, if we combine with oxygen and water, so oxygen in presence of water, so iron oxide and metal oxide is getting formed. For example, iron will turn to iron oxide in form of rust, whereas silver will turn to silver oxide, which is black in color. So we avoid these types, we paint so that oxygen or water will not get combined with iron and the life of iron will remain itself. Let's go with 19th question. So the 19th question they are asking, oil and fat containing food items are flushed with nitrogen. Why? So the answer is similar way to previous question. Here is to avoid rancidity. So what is rancidity? If you keep any food or oil items for a longer time, what happens is they get oxidized. So oxidation is nothing but the reaction of any food or oil elements with respect to oxygen in presence of moisture. So what they will turn, the properties will get changed. You can also feel, for example, any food item, if you keep longer time for outside, and any fruits also, they get oxidized and the shape will get changed. Also, if any small example, consider any meat, if it is cooked today and if kept outside for a longer time, and after at least 10 hours or 12 hours or at least a day, if you go and check, the smell will get changed. And even the taste, if you also check, it is also get changed because the food got oxidized. So for example, any meat here, after one day, for suppose if you kept it outside, some different smell will be coming out. The food will get spoiled. So spoiled is nothing but here it is getting oxidized, and this process is called as rancidity. So to avoid it, for example, the Lay's packet or any chips packet for consider. So you can also feel that they are filled with air inside. The air is nothing but here the nitrogen. So why they are filling with nitrogen? Because nitrogen will form as a protective layer on the chips so that it will not react with outside oxygen which is present. So this way the chips or any packet, if you take for any preserved containers or preserved food, what they will do is they will keep it airtight container, and the airtight container inside they will keep some type of nitrogen into it so that this will not get reacted with an outside oxygen. So due to which the food stays clean and not spoiled, and due to which we can eat properly. So this way they fill with nitrogen so that the food not react with oxygen to form oxides. So the main direct answer is to avoid rancidity. And what is rancidity? Is the food get oxidized if you keep outside for longer time. Even the oil also gets changed. So what is happening here? They are getting oxidized. So to avoid this oxidation, we keep nitrogen so that it will form a protective layer, and the oxygen or water which is outside, it will not get reacted and the food will stay healthy. Let's see the final 20th question. So let's see the 20th question. They are asking, explain the terms with an example. The terms are rancidity and corrosion. These are all explained in my previous two questions, that is 18th and 19th, but still I will explain once again. So for rancidity, these are not differences, so just avoid the table. So rancidity, as I mentioned, if any oil or food, if you keep outside long time, example greater than 12 hours, smell and taste gets spoiled. So this reaction is called rancidity because these will get oxidation. So these react with oxygen to form other products, which is smell and taste gets changed. So if any oil or food item kept outside longer time and the smell and taste gets spoiled or gets changed, such reaction is called rancidity, and this is happening because of oxidation. So to avoid this, we use nitrogen or airtight containers. So in such way, if we keep, so this will not get rancidity, that this will not get spoiled, and the food will be active for a longer time. What is corrosion? If any metal gets reacted with oxygen in the presence of water, metal oxides will get formed. So due to which the properties gets deteriorated. For example, iron, if you get reacted with oxygen in the presence of water, it forms Fe2O3 and have water. Fe2O3 is nothing but iron oxide, which is rust. So what is happening is the properties of iron is getting deteriorated. The same way, if you keep silver in the presence of oxygen, presence of moisture, silver oxides will be getting formed. Those are also black in color, and those are also get deteriorated. So if any metal or oxide, if you reacted with, if any metal, if it reacts with oxygen in presence of water or moisture, iron oxides as metal oxides will getting formed, due to which the properties get deteriorated. To avoid this, we use paint. If you paint metal, that is iron, for a longer time, so what will happen is these form as a protective layer over the iron, and it will make sure that iron is not getting reacted with moisture or oxygen, so thus that the life of the oxygen will get more. So what is corrosion is that if any metal gets reacted with oxygen in presence of water, it gets oxidized to form metal oxides. Then this is one of the examples. So in this way, I conclude all the exercise questions of chapter 1, which is chemical reactions and equations. So in the next video, I'll start with chapter 2 and I'll explain the concepts, and later I'll also conclude with the backside exercise questions. So if you like this video, please do like and do comment if you have any doubts with respect to this chapter, any questions or any topic, so that I can check. And if you also require, then I'll create another video on the doubt section, that is queries on chapter 1. If not, I'll directly solve in the comment section itself. And also do share with your friends. You might also require for the revision or the entire details of chapter 1 for their exams. Thank you.